Alright, good evening and good morning, everybody. We're going to be doing a run of the very first SaGa game that started this whole series, released as Makai Toshi SaGa in Japan and the Final Fantasy legend in the English-speaking world. Despite the name, this is a SaGa game. It was just renamed Final Fantasy to help boost sales. And going to be doing a run of the any percent no saw skill category. I'll explain what that means a little more as we get going. But anyway, we're going to be going on a nice little adventure here to climb a tower in search of paradise. And in order to do that, we actually get a lot of control over who's in our party and what kind of builds we do. There's 3 races you can pick in this game: humans, mutants, and monsters, all 3 of which we'll be seeing at least briefly in this run. And for my starter hero character, we're going to be doing a Red Bull, which is a type of monster. With that, we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go! Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is finish building out my party. Pick 2 albatrosses, which is another type of monster, and then a female mutant whose weapon I'm immediately going to take off just to speed up some menus. And then we're on our way. Before we can actually enter the tower to climb it to look for paradise, we need to find a black sphere that a fiend named Genbu sealed in a statue in order to break a seal on the door to the tower. In order to do that, we need to go find 3 hero relics: a sword, shield, and armor. We're heading off to the Sword King's castle in search of that, and then if everything goes well for about the first 15 minutes of this run, I'm going to be doing full random number generator manipulation, because of how old this game is. It uses a really simplistic pseudo-random number generator for what happens during battles, and it's actually fairly easy to manipulate it. So that gas attack I'm using on this lizard right here is a special skill that my mutant just picked up off that first fight, and that's all part of the manipulation. And then, so mutants randomly gain stats and skills after battles, and then monsters get stronger via eating meat dropped by other monsters that you defeat in battle. And that right there is going to be this biggest single payoff for doing this manipulation, is being able to get a meat drop from a fairly rare encounter in the Sword King's castle here, this Red Bull, which in addition to giving us wings is also going to give us a meat drop that'll evolve one of our albatrosses into a much stronger form. Indeed, we're 2 minutes in and it is already time to progress the meat. Alright, so just evolved one of my albatrosses into a slime, which is a family of monsters that we're going to be seeing a lot of in this run, because they have fairly decent stats. They have a very strong skill called Melt that, in addition to ignoring certain types of enemy defense, also heals the slime based on the amount of damage dealt. And then we don't want skeleton meat, that's too bony. Alright, this room is quite scary because these guards are not part of the random number generator for the rest of the game. Alright, got past them though. If I bumped into one of them, it would force an unrunnable fight, and that would break my manipulation. Alright, so this first world where we're looking for the hero relics, each one of the relics is kind of held by a king of these 3 warring or feuding kingdoms, and then the king who has the sword challenges us to a fight. So for the mere price of an active regicide, we are going to get our first hero relic. And on the first turn, he actually killed off my mutant, and that's all planned, Because again, for about the first 15 minutes of this run, everything that happens in battle is fully manipulated. I'm a lot less scared of the randomly moving soldiers when I'm leaving the castle, just because their position resets after every encounter, and the tiles that I get the encounters on lines up pretty nicely as far as being able to get past, especially that second soldier before he really has much time to be a jerk. Alright, so now we're making our way to look for the hero's armor, the next relic that we need to eventually be able to enter the tower. The king who has the armor, the way I interpret it is that he already caught wind that we killed the Sword King for holding out on us with the hero's sword. So instead of fighting us, the Armor King sends us on a fetch quest to rescue his fiancée from bandits that kidnapped her. Unfortunately, we don't actually have to be given that quest in order to be able to do it, so we can just head straight for the bandit cave. Yeah, I'm already hearing some hype for the music in this game. The music in this game was done by Nobuo Uematsu of Final Fantasy fame. Things I just like about this game so much is the glorious chiptune soundtrack. This particular zombie I'm fighting rather than running from, because if I tried to run from it, the position in the random number generator series I'm in would make it that it would just take forever to run away, so it's faster in that case to just fight. Another thing I love about this game besides the music is just the weirdness and wackiness too, because if you guessed that the leader of the bandits that kidnapped the king's fiancée was a poisonous frog, then you'd be correct, of course. So we have this pea frog mini-boss that we need to fight. Gives us another meat drop. We use to evolve our second albatross into an Oni, which is part of the goblin family of monsters. Not going to be using the Oni for too long, but the Oni, it's basically just kind of a level up for the albatross. It has more HP and a better attack skill called Horn, which we'll be using for the next couple fights. Alright, so with the bandits defeated, we never actually found the kidnapped king's fiancée, but I guess she must have just gotten away on her own after we took care of the frog. And we just head for the Armor King's castle to collect our reward. This castle also has randomly moving NPCs, but fortunately these are our buddies, and if we bump into them instead of forcing an unrunnable fight, they just waste our time with the text box. Alright, and with the hero's armor in hand, time to go pay the Shield King a visit to get the third and final hero relic. We do have to do this one last, and do the other two in whatever order you'd like. There's drama afoot in the Shield Kingdom, and the king has actually been murdered by his own steward. then wants to frame us for the murder, but that's not really going to end too well for the steward. And again, skeleton meat, I just kind of interpret as being bone marrow, and that doesn't sound too tasty, so I'm going to pass up on that. And after catching up with the steward, time for a very, very simple fight where we don't even need to use the Oni's stronger attack. You're a scum, you make me sick. I was a fan of that line. Alright, so now that we have all 3 relics, we're going to head to the town of Hero, where the statue of Hero is. Stop at the end to recover our health, but more importantly, recover our skill uses for our monsters. It gives us the black sphere. And now we get to fight the first of the 4 fiends in this game. And in this game, the 4 fiends are based on Chinese mythology, a set of constellations, I believe, that are called the 4 symbols. And the first fiend is Genbu, also known as the Black Tortoise. This is where the fact that the slime's melt skill can bypass certain kinds of defense comes in handy, because Genbu has a shield that he can deploy, but the melt penetrates that. Alright, and that is our first fiend down. Don't think it's over. Spoilers, it's not over. Just wanted to double check my character's health at that point, just because for a reason I don't really understand, the random number generator manipulation can deviate a little bit during the Genbu fight as far as who he attacks on, I believe it's turn 3, but I got the results I wanted, which was the Oni taking most of the damage. Alright, and with that, it is the last time to enter the tower. So again, goal of this game is to go on an adventure to climb this tower to look for paradise. This wolf just killed my Oni, and that's all planned too. So now is probably a good time to talk about how this game has actually kind of a pseudo permadeath system. Because I picked out my hero character and then built my party at the start, but if I have characters die in battle in this game, I can actually only revive them a limited number of times, based on a stat called Heart. Characters start with 3 hearts by default, and you can buy more, but outside of that, once a character runs out of hearts, then they're just dead. And the way that the game makes it so that you can't really kind of easily get into an unwinnable state is that you can replace dead characters with new ones at adventurers guilds in towns you visit throughout the game. And I'll be doing just that in order to give my party kind of periodic boosts in power. For that last fight, I fought for 1 turn and then ran away in order to set up being able to run away from this fight. This is actually some manipulation that I added to the route pretty recently, too. Last time I ran this game for a marathon, my manipulation route ended right here on this floor, but I found a way to keep it going for a few more minutes. Alright, so if we'd have actually kept going in the tower, we would have found a door sealed by magic of blue, so now we need to go find a blue sphere in order to unlock that. Then I replace my 2 dead characters at this Adventurers Guild with humans. Humans' main claim to fame is just being good with weapons. I believe pretty much all 3 of the Final Fantasy Legend games. And the way they get stronger is by buying potions, which I'm not actually going to be doing in this route, but that's something I used to do, is buy potions here to increase their HP. So I buy a battle sword, which is an actual weapon, but for my purposes it's a story item, and then also some X potions, which is a nice healing item. Normally I'd buy 3 packs, but for marathon safety I'm getting 4. Alright, so then the first thing we need to do in order to start looking for the blue spheres is find a way to cross the oceans. This is the world of ocean. To go through these tunnels. Just forgot one kind of important thing, which is to swap my party leader, because when I'm still doing manipulation for battles, and who enemies attack on which turns, it's based on which slot that the character is in, rather than which character it is. So I needed to swap to have it so that my slime took the hit. Otherwise, it would have been a one-shot. Alright, and then now we have our own personal portable floating island that we'll be using to cross the ocean. We talked to more NPCs, we'd learn that basically that the blue sphere is in an underwater castle and guarded by a fiend named Seirayu. So in order to get to that castle, we need to gain the ability to breathe underwater. We do via finding that air seed. Alright, and with that is actually now the end of my RNG manipulation. So from this point forward, we're going to be using fairly different strategies, both for movement and also for combat, since I'm not really kind of able to fully manipulate battle results anymore. That's that I'm going to be making pretty heavy use of the in-game save system, just because this is a Game Boy game meant to be played anywhere for short bursts, so you have the ability to kind of save anywhere. Then I can just really aggressively use that in order to make it so that I can just get through dungeons without taking damage or having characters die off. Because again, it's just not really something I can handle, especially without getting better like armor or stats for my characters, especially once I'm past this point, when the monsters get kind of a big power boost. So rather than actually deal with taking damage, worrying about running out of hearts, and having to like buy healing items and stuff, I'm just going to be doing a lot of safety saves, so that if I fail to run from a fight first try, I can reload and get past it. I'm underwater now, heading towards Seirayu's castle. I just have to kind of take my word for it. It isn't until later in the series that they actually give some kind of shimmering effects to show you being underwater. So we've now entered Seirayu's underwater castle. I've always found it a little odd that they just used the overworld music for this dungeon, but I mean, it's a Game Boy game, and there's pretty strict limits on the amount of music and sound effects they can have, so that's my theory on why they do that. Underwater pirates, yeah. I guess they're scuba suit pirates or something. So before I go upstairs, I need to get a key, and this room where the key is has an elevated encounter rate, so I'm saving more aggressively here. If I get really, really lucky, this octopi might move out of the way so that I can get to the door without having to go around the building, but that's fairly uncommon because again, NPCs all respawn at their starting tile whenever you come out of an encounter. What does sawless mean? I guess now is a pretty good time to explain that. So around this point in the game, if I was just doing a straight any percent run of Final Fantasy Legend 1, I had gained the ability to start using a skill called Saw that certain monsters have and that you can eventually buy as a weapon for humans to use as well. And Saw is an instant death skill that was likely intended to just instantly kill enemies that are weaker than the user, but there's some bad math with the formula, and it actually kills monsters that are stronger than the user. So as you can imagine, in a speedrun where I'm pretty low-leveled consistently, that's very, very, very overpowered, and you can use it to one-shot bosses up to and including the final boss. So, I mean, I wouldn't really. I mean, it's not really like an earth-shattering change or anything to not use the Saw skill, but it's just a different way to run this game compared to an any percent run that I've just kind of really come to enjoy, because I like to think that this no Saw skill run just shows off a little bit of everything as far as what the game has to offer. Like, we see all three character races, even though the mutant is only alive for about 4 minutes or so. And then to actually take a little, or have a little more depth to the boss fights. I say a little because we're still going to be using pretty simple strategies, because it's kind of a simple game at heart. I stopped at a side room there to pick up some grenades. It's another thing I love about this game, is just the fact that you've got humans throwing grenades, mutants with X-Men style superpowers, and like fire-breathing dragons all peacefully coexisting in the same battle party. Got a simple little puzzle there to find the sphere, just where the two lines of spheres line up. To fight Seirayu, the blue dragon, I believe his constellation is. Yeah, future SaGa games introduce more replayable races. Final Fantasy Legend 2 introduces robots, and then Legend 3 introduces cyborgs and beast people. Alright, but unfortunately I have to redo that fight now because I didn't get the meat drop. Which is actually pretty rare and thing to have happen, because I do need Seirayu's meat drop as part of my evolution route. So yeah, the grenades are a very strong weapon relative to this point in the game. They do really high damage and then hit all enemies in a group. Hitting an entire group isn't too relevant for this fight because it's a solo boss, but there'll be future fights where that will matter. Alright, that's more like it. Alright, so then I use Seirayu's meat in order to evolve my Red Bull that was my starter hero character into a Woodman. Not going to be using the Woodman for very long, it's just kind of a gateway towards this better monster form that I'll be getting in the next world. But we're not quite done here yet. We got this an orb from defeating Seirayu, but it turned out that Seirayu actually only had half of the blue sphere, and then we need to go pay a visit to this Dr. Wily-looking NPC here named Ryu-O, who's actually a benevolent dragon in disguise, in order to get the other half. And Ryu-O challenges us to a math puzzle, where we basically need to add up the sale price for a bunch of items he names, and then it turns out the total value is the price for a battle sword, which is why I bought that in the previous town. Yeah, no math, please. Alright, so we merge the two halves of the blue sphere together, and now we head back to the tower to continue our adventure. Alright, very important here that I talk to this mysterious top hat man. He's all over this game. Like, we could have talked to him in the very first town where we started, but he's in several locations within the tower too, and if we manage to make it all the way to the end game without ever talking to him in the tower, then we actually get into a soft lock situation. It's important that I talk to him at least once in the tower, and then that right there is my first kind of really convenient opportunity to do so. But at this point, you should kind of be getting a pretty good sense of how this game is structured, because we're climbing this tower to look for paradise, and then about every 5 floors we get stuck by a sealed door, and then have to go into kind of a more expansive world to find defeat a fiend, and then find a sphere that'll let us unlock that door. As far as using the in-game saves in order to deal with the random encounters, it may look like I'm just saving pretty indiscriminately, and there's a lot of places where I am, but there is actually some tech going on whenever I can too, because whenever I do a soft reset, which is what I'm doing when I get into an encounter that I can't run from first try, whenever I do a soft reset, the game basically puts me back into a kind of there's a pattern as far as how many steps it is to the next encounter. It's based on kind of what area of the game I'm in, but my entry point into that pattern is random based on the frame that I load my file on. But there's certain opportunities where, based on which tiles I get encounters on after loading, I can kind of figure out where I'm at in that pattern. There's a couple that I've learned to recognize, and if I see one of those, then I know that I'm in for a longer set of steps after that I don't have to worry about encounters on. The main thing I'm looking for is getting 2 encounters back to back right after loading. Alright, so now we're on to the world of skies. This world is ruled by an iron fist by a fiend named Byakko, the White Tiger. The story here revolves around a resistance against Byakko that did have a leader, but that leader was killed, and the leader's 2 daughters have taken over leading the resistance. Also, I'm just equipping some story items that I don't need anymore just to get them out of my inventory at this point, just because you can only hold 8 loose items at once, and that's more efficient than trying to sell off stuff I don't need anymore. Alright, so first order of business here is actually to try to get in with Byakko in order to get some clues about the White Sphere to continue in the tower. And we do so by fighting some of his troops, which are actually mosquitoes in disguise. And I love the just kind of really just weirdness of this game. So after fighting the mosquitoes and then actually getting a bit lucky as far as getting first try a mosquito meat drop and then evolving my woodman into a imp, we get We join Byaku's forces and get sent to find Jean, who's one of the resistance leader's daughters. The daughters are Jean and Murray, although Murray's Englished as Millet. For this fight here, the important thing was to kill the saber cat ASAP, because that's the most dangerous monster here by far. You ask a silly question. Of course we're gonna rescue Jean. Okay, if I get lucky, I can actually get a saber cat meat drop from that fight, which is the next meat drop that I need for my evolution route. I didn't get it. I got garlic meat instead, which is I view it as just garlic. But that's okay. We'll have another opportunity to get saber cat meat very, very soon. So after rescuing Jean and then just walking away without talking to her because we don't actually have to advance the story, we then head back to Byaku's floating sky castle. And because Byaku's troops still think that we're one of them, we can just cruise on through without encounters, although these guys can still be jerks as far as blocking my path and telling me important bits of information, like that Byaku is on the 7th floor. What most of them say if you talk to them. One little thing that I'm a little sad got lost in translation between the Japanese and English versions are the names of these keys, because like we had the blue key in the last world and we have the white key here, but in Japanese they're called the blue dragon key and the white tiger key, which I think are just kind of nice references to the constellations that the fiends are based on in this game. Alright, so now we're gonna go rescue Murray, and who's the other leader of the resistance against Byaku. And I do need to get a meat drop from this fight, which I did. If I didn't get that, I'd have to reset until I did get it. And I used that to evolve my slime into a jelly, which is basically the same thing, only better, more HP and a better belt skill. But this is where we now find out that Murray actually betrayed the resistance and was working with Byaku. And also that in typical JRPG fashion, prisons are very easy to escape from. All we have to do is bend the bars and fight the guard, since we didn't actually have our grenades taken away from us. Next couple fights, by the way, too, I'm having my jelly use a agility debuff skill called Bother instead of Melt. And I'm doing that not because I actually care about reducing agility, but because I only have 10 Melt skill uses on the jelly, and I want to make every one of those count. When I don't actually need to use any of them, I'll just use Bother instead, since there's no defend option in this game. I was just kind of wasting a turn. This is where both the fire breath skill that my imp has and then the grenades are just really nice as far as being able to take down 4 imps in one turn. Oh yeah, I forgot that there's the ESP skill. Because yeah, the mutant race I just like to kind of view as being like mutants from the world of X-Men, as far as having these very diverse and random skills that you can use. So we get on this glider and escape from prison. Controlled by encounters. It's a bit lost because of getting where I saved. Okay, there we go. And then abuse a little trick too, where if I re-enter Byaku's castle and then just immediately leave, the castle just moves to a place on the overworld where basically a shrine where the white sphere is. And then even though Mireille was working with Byako, he betrays her at this point and tries to kill her, but then Jean takes the hit instead. And now it's time for our final showdown with Byako. Byako killed one of my humans, which is actually totally fine. So we're coming up on where I am going to need to get both of my humans killed off to make room for better characters in the next world. It's Byako. Then with his dying breath, Byako destroys the white sphere, but then it turns out that was actually a fake, and then Mireille cries a tear for her sister Jean, and that tear becomes the real white sphere. 6 melt charges left on my jelly's actually perfect. Yeah, this game was ahead of its time in several ways, like actually using the word dead instead of like wound or wounded. And also, honestly, just things that we take for granted now, like bosses having different music from regular battles, and then like bosses having special death animations too. Yeah, I should have called some attention to the Artful Tears theme for Leaving the Last World. It's one of my favorite parts of the soundtrack. It actually got reused in Final Fantasy Legend 2 as well, along with the SaGa title screen theme and then the Battle Victory theme. Alright, so heading towards our next destination. We have 3 fiends down and 3 spears collected. Last fiend is Suzaku the Red Bird. Yeah, Final Fantasy Legend 2 is the one that has bananas in it. There's a subplot in Final Fantasy Legend 2 that's based on the Chinese Opium Wars, and they censor all references to opium and drugs by replacing them with bananas. It's amazing. Alright, so we've now entered the World of Ruins, not to be confused with the World of Ruin from Final Fantasy VI. The World of Ruins it's been devastated by Suzaku, the last fiend. It's way more blatant, by the way, in the Japanese version too, that this is basically post-apocalyptic Tokyo. And on the overworld for the World of Ruins, there's actually the highest encounter rate in the game, and the only possible encounter is Suzaku, the boss, but is currently invincible. So we go through this this ruined subway tunnel to hide from Suzaku, basically. And we find this this girl under attack by ants, and we're not okay with that, so we're going to dispose of the ants. This is where having preferably 6 melt charges comes into play, because I basically need to be able to kill all of the ants before just running out of melts, and therefore running out of just ability to do damage. Up and at them. Girl runs off without even telling us her name, but we'll be reunited very, very shortly. Shortly being right now. We basically stumble into another resistance space. This one's kind of more of like an Akira-style motorcycle gang. And we find out that the girl that we rescued from the ants is named Sayaka, and she's the sister of Socho, who's the resistance leader. Socho basically tells us that in order to be able to actually fight and defeat Suzaku, we need to build a machine called Erase 99 in order to remove his force field that makes him invincible. And gives us a bike, which, in addition to letting us move faster, also lets us go over these ruined building tiles. And that's very, very nice, because we actually can't get into encounters with Suzaku on those tiles. I'm hitting those as much as possible, and then just saving at the edges of them. Good encounter luck there. So, the first component we need for Race 99 is in this invisible town called Akiba, which is based on Akihabara in Tokyo. Get the ROM. If we'd have actually gone to a library in the center of the overworld, we would have gotten some clues on how to find this place. It's not like a Hoshiwo Mirohito thing where you have an invisible town you're expected to find with no help. And I also pick up a revive item. Yeah, I got the ROM and the revive. It probably closed because of me reloading. So then I replace my my 2 humans with a Chimera and a Stone Man. The Chimera has a really, really strong attack skill called 3 Heads, and then the Stone Man is just I'm just going to evolve into a stronger monster relatively soon. We get our next component for Race 99, the board. Yeah, that's correct. You are able to discard story items. If that happens while you still need them, you can just go collect them again, which I'm assuming is why that chest closed after I reloaded. I could have gotten another ROM out of it. Alright, so with the ROM and the board in hand, we head back to the base. The revive I'll be saving for a while. It's basically just to be able to revive a character a bit faster than going to a clinic to do so at a later point, and then casually ride my motorcycle into the bar, and then talk to Socho. Then we find out that our next and final component we need for the Erase 99 weapon to neutralize Suzaku's force field is plutonium. Apparently we need 1.21 gigawatts of Race 99 power. I'm gonna head to our local nuclear power plant in order to find that plutonium. First through another subway tunnel, and then through some sewers in order to infiltrate the nuclear power plant. Make sure not to fall off the edge here, because that'll send me back to the sewers. It's kind of funny though that you can actually kill Suzaku without Erase 99 if you use the Saw skill, but that doesn't actually affect the story at all. He just instantly respawns. Alright. So now we have an evil eye that we have to fight in order to get to the end of the nuclear plant, and this is our kind of our last potential, really big potential to get trolled by a meat drop, and I got it first try. Nice. I used that to evolve the stone man that I just recruited into a pudding, which in addition to being an extremely tasty dessert is also the strongest version of the slime family of monsters. It's just as far as having the best stats and the strongest melt skill. Alright, so there is some kind of force field blocking the path to the nuclear core, but Socho decides to sacrifice himself to let us into the core. To take care of his sister. And now we've accessed the core, but guarding the plutonium is our friend from Final Fantasy I, Warmech, also known as Machine, which is short for Death Machine, which is Warmech's name in the Japanese version of Final Fantasy I. This is a very, very fast fight, thanks to just how strong the Chimera's 3 heads attack and how strong the pudding's melt skill is. Right, and after getting the plutonium, we automatically get sent back to the resistance base. But if we go in, we'd have found that while we were at the reactor, Suzaku attacked the base and killed pretty much everybody that was there, and then kidnapped Sayaka and took her to this skyscraper in the northwest corner. The Japanese version, it's called Shinjuku subway station, which is one of the biggest subway stations in Tokyo. The layout of this place makes a bit more sense once you know that backstory. Really love the music here too, really makes you feel like you're racing the clock. Okay, I keep forgetting if Shinjuku is the biggest subway station or just one of. Yeah, because like I said, in the Japanese version, Makai Toshi's SaGa, it's way, way more blatant that this world is Tokyo, a post-apocalyptic setting, and pretty much all the locales here are based on parts of Tokyo. And when I was streaming this game a while, I think it was last year, a Japanese speedrunner that was watching was amused because he said that one of the places I was at was like a 10-minute walk from his house. Decent luck so far in the skyscraper for encounters. Hopefully that continues. Floor that's all doors. Well, we do have a floor that's all stairs coming up. I like to kind of view all of the dark rooms except this one, I guess, as being escalators that you'd take to go down into a subway platform. Not really too sure about this place, if this is just meant to be like a terminal hub or something. Tokyo subway system. Yeah, I can see that too. What's missing is the merchandising. Alright, so this is probably my favorite floor of this dungeon, if not the whole game, which is the all stairs floor. Although this floor also gives me some major cell phone reception meter vibes too. Every tile that's not either a wall or a door is a staircase. Yeah, maybe this is a souvenir shop for buying stairs, basically, because I imagine there's a lot of souvenir shops in the Tokyo subway system. Yeah, I wish my phone got as many bars as this game. So we're nearing the end of of this dungeon. We've reached the bottom of the subway station and then board an actual subway car. Always reminds me of the zombie subway in Secret of Mana, which is a fan of. Oh, nice, Kuiper Frog. Yeah, sadly we don't actually have suplexes, though I believe you can suplex in Final Fantasy Legend 3. So you can learn martial arts skills that are a lot of which are named after wrestling moves. Alright, and then we finally put Erase 99 actually... It's that my Chimera was kind of low on health. Alright, now we put Erase 99 to use and fight Suzaku. Probably should have actually just seen what he did rather than reset immediately, since this fight is over very, very fast because of just how strong my monsters are at this point. That's one thing I do really, really like about this game as a speed game, too, is just how the bosses are kind of more tests of how good your routing and party setup is, rather than being like really big damage sponges. SaGa, you are great. True statement. Because a lot of the boss fights around this part of the game are over in 2 turns. Because again, the main kind of point of this category is to have the combat not use a skill called Saw, which instantly kills pretty much anything you want. It'll kill any enemy that's stronger than the Saw user, which in a speedrun means basically anything. But even without using that skill, the boss fights still go by extremely fast with the right routing and strategies. Something I don't think I really have called too much attention to yet in boss fights too is that the melt skill that I've been using a lot with my slime family monsters restores the slime's HP based on the amount of damage dealt, and that's really, really, really nice, especially for endgame bosses too, because that means I pretty much can't lose as long as I have melt charges. Aizu is also correct in that regard too. Oh, we have 4 warriors, and we're trying to collect orbs. We're fighting fiends that are guarding those orbs. So, yeah, we can call this, call that the story. So, now we've actually defeated all 4 of the fiends, and if we were kind of talking to more, more NPCs and paying more attention to the story, around now we'd be learning that the Four Fiends actually have a boss named Ashura, who goes on to be a recurring character in the Final Fantasy Legends series. And I'm a really, really big fan of how Ashura keeps getting progressively demoted from game to game, because he's a very major antagonist in this game. In the second game, Ashura is the antagonist of the first major story arc. And in the third game, Ashura is basically just an enforcer for a stronger boss. And I mean, I'm pretty sure I did this on floor 5, but just to make sure I don't soft lock, I'm going to talk to the top mysterious top hat man there. Hey, we're not looking for destiny here, we're just looking for a fun adventure climbing this tower and then eating lots of tasty meat along the way. Alright, so we're reaching our showdown with Ashura, who's standing between us and paradise now. This fight can get a little sketchy depending on what he does, because I do want him to kill my Chimera and my Jelly and just leave the pudding alive after this fight. But if he kills those two monsters too quickly, then I'm in danger of running out of melts before I kill him. It's looking pretty good so far, because as long as the Chimera and the Jelly get like 1 or 2 attacks off each, then I'm generally in pretty good shape. So if Ashura doesn't heal. Alright, and that's Ashura. Unfortunately, my Jelly didn't die, but I can take care of that afterwards. Here's the door to paradise, but it's not going anywhere, so I'm just gonna force a fight here to actually did the... Okay, there we go. I was about to say I think the Jelly actually died. But there's a trap. There's a pitfall in front of the door that sends us all the way back to where we started the game, the base town in front of the tower. But fortunately, the shops here have gone through some pretty major upgrades. We're able to get to trade our 2 dead monsters for gummies, which are the second best type of slime after pudding. This isn't going to be a full-on pudding percent run, but you get some variety in our desserts. So then we use the power of the 4 orbs in order to break the seal on the tower again, then we get to this hidden kind of express escalator to paradise, as I call it. And we get to refight the 4 fiends. Then use the meat from the refight with Genbu to evolve SaGa, our hero character, into a beholder, which has some very, very nasty abilities, including Stone Gaze. Yeah, you'd think heroes would pay better attention to just single tile always leading to delectable quest goals. So we're reclimbing the tower considerably faster than the first time, using this kind of hidden staircase on the outside of the tower. refight the 4 fiends along the way. But after defeating Genbu's refight for the other 3, we're actually able to take advantage of the fact that the fiend refights are not immune to being petrified. My beholder has a stone gaze attack. And it's very nice both for getting through the rest of the refights quickly, but also conserving melt charges, because if I actually had to fight the other 3 fiend refights just through running down their health, then I would not have enough melt charges left for the final boss. I'd have to use some fairly different routing. So for the other fiend refights, I'm just using the stone gaze to kill them, and then queuing up bother with the other with the slimes, so that if any of them outspeed my beholder, I don't waste melt charges. Also, the animation's a little faster for bother too. Bother. Winnie the Pooh proud here. Bosses in this game having different music from regular fights and having that dissolve death animation is kind of ahead of its time too. Weren't really any turn-based RPGs on the NES that did that. I was fully expecting to get punished there for being a little greedy with how long I went between safety saves, but actually, I'm just looking at my splits too. This is actually on pace for a pretty good time. Not on PB pace, but depending on how the rest of this goes, I might be like 60 to 90 seconds off my PB. Pretty darn good for a marathon run. That's pretty rare, actually, for Suzaku 2 to actually get an attack off. Not really too much to say here, just kind of finishing the our reascent. This PB pace? I don't think so, but this is still going to be a really good time. I hadn't kind of gotten a bit lost on near the end of World of Sky. This might be PB potential. I got really disoriented after reloading my save and fumbled around for a solid like 15-20 seconds, if not more. Yeah, I didn't really have much. I think the only meat drop that really trolled me in this run too was Serayu. Alright, and now we've at long last reached paradise, and there's one last thing that needs to be done before reaching our objective. That's to finally find out the truth about the mysterious Top Hat Man, and find out that he's actually the creator of our world. It's way, way more blatant in the Japanese version, where he's called Kami, or God. We find out that the creator created Ashura, who in turn created the Four Fiends, in order to kind of test adventurers like us with for his own amusement. And we're not really, we don't take that too well, so we actually challenge God to a fight. This game came out in a time when killing God was actually a somewhat original concept among RPGs. That's to this music, by the way, which, thanks to not using the saw skill to kill him in one hit, we actually get to enjoy a full loop of the creator's theme. Time is going to be when it says creator defeated, so I'll call time when we get there. So yeah, I'm just spamming Beam, which is my Beholder's damage dealing attack, and then Melt, which makes it so that I can't lose as long as I have Melt charges, because my slimes are getting healed every time they use Melt. And that's time! Wow, that is actually my second fastest run of this category. I think I started my timer a little early, so this is probably about a 105.50 or so. My PB is a 105.20. Thanks for the GGs, everybody. This game's ending is only 4 minutes long, so I'm going to abuse the fact that I crushed Estimate to play it out while I wrap it up and do my shoutouts. So yeah, after defeating the creator and kind of saving the worlds from his games, we decide that paradise isn't quite for us, and I guess the true paradise was the friends that we met and had killed off to replace with other friends, and all of the tasty meat we feasted on along the way. So we decided to head back home, and then we get to see some flashbacks of our journey. In the Japanese version, there are actual credits accompanying these flashbacks that they just completely removed for whatever reason from the English version. And I always whenever I run this game for a marathon, I always like to give two shoutouts in particular. Shout out to Cat Claw, who's the record holder for the any % category of this game, who cracked a lot of the RNG in this game, like the RNG manipulation route that I used for the start of this run. I was heavily based on his any % route. I used it to get the Red Bull meat drop in the first castle, and then kind of did my own thing after that. But also, his notes also taught me a lot just about how RNG works in this game and how encounters work. And then also shoutouts to Baku Zero, who's the Japanese version record holder. I'd say about 80% of the routing for this category comes from Baku Zero's record on Makai Toshi SaGa, the Japanese version. I like to call him Mr. SaGa because he's either got the record or a really good time at all three of the Game Boy Saga games. See you again. I love that. It says "see you again" in katakana at the end of the Japanese version. All right, so Again, that was the Final Fantasy Legend, which was the first game in the SaGa series, run of the any percent no saw skill category. And thanks Bick for organizing this event and having me. Thanks everybody for watching and for all the GGs. And I think we're still a little behind schedule. I'm going to get out of here and pass it off to Clear Tonic, who's going to. I guess we're going to go from the first SaGa game to one of the most recent. So with that, everybody have yourselves a good one and enjoy the finale of SaGa 2020.